Hello, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first, we just hit 3,950 subscribers to the channel. I want to give a shout out to all the subscribers, and a special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members Brandon McKell, Hasher for MVP, Salacious Crumb, Rye Guy, Brendan Nelson's Haircut, VGK Tigers, It's Hoof, The Reno, TVO, Austin Roberts, Scott Todd, PH Glass, Aaron Garrett, Arfman, 12th Man, Eli Bennett, Cassio Feria, and Samoan 4251. All right, so today we are going to be talking about the Seahawks offense because one thing that's going on with this team in 2021, as I see it right now, is kind of the opposite of what we saw going into 2020. And I want to take a video to address this point specifically because this is important. It's very important that we as fans and this organization as an organization realizes this and adjusts their expectations and standards accordingly. Last year, the Seahawks went into the season with an offense that was ready to cook and a defense that was a work in progress. And that's pretty much what we ended up getting. We got an offense that lit the league on fire for the first 2 months of the year, and a defense that looked historically bad. And that defense eventually did figure it out, and the offense eventually choked out and died. But in the first couple months of the year, we got exactly what could have been reasonably expected based on the makeup of the team. This year, we're getting the opposite. So we're still several months away from the season, but I want to go ahead and put it on the record right now that we as fans need to display some patience with the Seahawks offense in 2021. Because if you take a look at what we have going on right now on this team and the things that we have done to try to fix the offensive problems, we need to realize that the results are not going to be immediately amazing because we are switching offensive coordinators, we are switching play callers, and more than anything else, we're switching schemes. Okay, so let's take a look here. One thing that I can say about the 2021 Seahawks offense, if we take a look at the depth chart, a lot of these guys know each other. A lot of these guys have a lot of familiarity with each other, okay? If you look at the players, one thing that is working in our favor is these players, they have played with each other for a while. Quarterback, we have the same quarterback setup we did last year. Russell Wilson's been on this team for about a decade. Running backs, we have the same running backs that we've had for a while. Chris Carson and Rashad Penny have been a backfield duo for, this is now their fourth year. I know Penny didn't play last year, but he's been on the team. Alex Collins was on the team last year. Travis Homer was on the team the last 2 years. If DJ Dallas gets on the field, he was on the team last year. Nick Bellore was on the team last year, and I think the year before. Wide receiver, look, we're going to be adding Dwayne Eskridge. He's going to be new. And you might see one other receiver in the five-man rotation who is new, Tamorian Terry, maybe Cade Johnson. But DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have been around for a while, and they've been part of this offense. Metcalf for 2 years, Lockett for half a decade. Freddie Swain was here last year. If Penny Hart ends up getting on the 53-man roster, he's been here for a little bit. So most of the receivers have been playing with this group of guys for a while now. If you take a look at the two most important guys, the two guys who are definite starters, Metcalf and Lockett, they know how to play with this quarterback. They know how to play with these offensive teammates for the most part. Now, tight end, we did bring in a new tight end, Gerald Everett, but we brought him in part because he's familiar with our new offensive coordinator. So even that's mitigated a little bit. It's probably going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him to integrate with Russell Wilson, but part of the reason why we brought him in is because he should be ready to fly in the new offensive system to a certain extent. Will Dissly's been here for a few years. Colby Parkinson was here last year. And the offensive line, as of right now, 4 of our 5 starters were here last year. 2 of them have been here since 2017. So these guys should be really familiar with each other. And if you look at the backups, they were all here last year. A couple of them have been here since 2017. Cedric Ogbuehi's been here for 1 year. Everyone else has been here for longer than that. The only new guy on the backup crew right now is Stone Forsythe, the rookie. So you hope he doesn't really get on the field, but in terms of the guys who are getting on the field for the offensive line, it's really only Gabe Jackson. So of the players who are actually going to get on the field regularly for the 2021 Seahawks offense, the only new pieces are Dwayne Eskridge, Gerald Everett, and Gabe Jackson. Now, the offseason's not over. It would not surprise me if the Seahawks brought in a veteran to compete with Ethan Posick at center. There's an outside chance we bring in a right tackle to compete with Brandon Shell. You might even see us bring in another tight end to take Disley's number 2 spot. Some people are even saying we could still bring in a wide receiver, but I think that's really unlikely now. So you might see one more new piece slot in, most likely on the offensive line. But the pieces are familiar with each other for the most part. Wilson's been playing with Lockett and Metcalf for a couple years now. He's been playing with Carson for years. He's been playing with Dwayne Brown for years. So that stuff is good. But that familiarity with the players does not guarantee immediate success in a new offensive system. Case in point, the Green Bay Packers. All right, follow me through here over these last 3 years for the Green Bay Packers. 2018, this was Mike McCarthy's final season as the Packers head coach. And he was an offensive guy. We all know that. Mike McCarthy was the offensive mastermind behind the Packers while he was there. This was his show. And one of the reasons why he got fired is because in 2018, the Packers offense, not that good. They scored 23.5 points a game. And they missed the playoffs, so they moved on. 6-9, 6-9-1. They went, I think, 4-7-1 under McCarthy specifically. Now let's take a look at the personnel that they had in 2018. Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Aaron Jones, he didn't play the full season, but they got a good season from Aaron Jones. He had almost 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league. St. Brown, he was a rookie. He didn't do all that much, but he was one of their starting receivers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had over 600 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. Jimmy Graham, one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the league still, even though if he was getting a little old. Look at this offensive line. David Bakhtiari, Corey Linsley, Brian Bulaga, Lane Taylor, and Byron Bell at guard. So those were the guys they had that had a slightly above league average offense in terms of points scored, 23.5 points a game. So McCarthy gets fired because, of course he does, because a team with this much talent on offense should be producing a little bit more. All right, so let's go to 2019. Packers hire Matt LaFleur, and he brings in his scheme, his play calling, his philosophy to the Green Bay Packers offense. And Matt LaFleur, I think at this point, it's safe to say that he is a little bit of an offensive guru if you take a look at what he did in 2020, which we'll get to in a second here. But in 2019, his first year, he takes over the Packers. They have the exact same results in terms of points per game. 23.5 points per game. Exactly the same. Now they're 15th in the league. Now the team did go 13-3 instead of 6-9-1, so they clearly were doing something right. But most of what they were doing right was the defense. The defense went from a bottom 10 unit to a top 10 unit. So Green Bay went from a 6-win team to a 13-win team, even though their offense was putting out the exact same number of points. And let's take a look at the personnel that the Packers had this year. Aaron Rodgers, same quarterback. Aaron Jones, he had a full season this year, so it's a little different, but same primary running back. Devontae Adams, number 1 receiver, one of the best receivers in the league. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, secondary receiver. He was the starter last year too. Jimmy Graham, he started last year. He started this year as well. Now, the Packers did start doing more 2 tight end looks instead of 3 receiver looks. So that was something that Matt LaFleur brought to the offense this year that was a little different. But you still saw mostly the same guys. I think Mercedes Lewis was a Packer the year before as well. He just played a little bit more in 2019. But it's the same guys. Look at the offensive line. Bakhtiari at left tackle, Lindsley at center, Bulaga at right tackle. It's the same group. They swapped out the guards. They brought in Eldon Jenkins and Billy Turner from Miami. So there were a few changes. They did get a healthier season from Aaron Jones. But in terms of personnel, these guys pretty familiar with each other. They didn't change that much, and yet the offense was no better. In fact, I think a lot of people would argue that the offense in 2019 might have been a little worse, and the defense bailed them out. So look at some of the games they played in 2019. 10 points opening night against the Bears. Okay, now they start working themselves into a nice little pattern here, right? 21 against the Vikings, 27 Denver, 27 against Philly, 34 against Dallas. Okay, they're warming up. 23 in Detroit. Yeah, I remember this game. What a joke that game was. 42 against Oakland, 31 against Kansas City. Oh boy, this offense is starting to cook. 11 points against the Chargers. A bad Chargers team. 24 against the Panthers, and then 8 against the 49ers. 31 against the Giants. Okay, here we go. 20 against Washington. And we're in December now, by the way, guys. Look at this. 21 points, 23 points, 23 points. Nothing special. It's okay. It's not bad, but not really good. Mediocre. And this is at the end of the season, after these guys have had a full year almost to integrate to Matt LaFleur's schemes. And this was not the COVID year. They had a full offseason too. Now they get to the playoffs. They do pretty well in the first game against the Seahawks. Now we all remember that 2019 Seahawks defense was not good. 28 points is okay. And then they kind of get blasted in the NFC title game, 20 points, and I think some of that was garbage time. So one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, a really good running back, really good number one wide receiver, solid pass catching tight end, and a great offensive line, most of which is very familiar with each other from the previous year, still can't get it going by the end of the season under a new offensive scheme. And it's not like the scheme was terrible or bad. It's not like Matt LaFleur is an idiot. It's just this is what happens sometimes when you're integrating a new offense. It took the full season for the Green Bay offense to really start clicking. And what do I mean when I say that? Go to 2020, the next year. Number one offense in the league, almost 32 points a game. 13-3 again. Aaron Rodgers wins MVP, has one of his best seasons ever. And they didn't do a ton of changes to the personnel. You can go look at the starters on the roster. Still Aaron Rodgers, still Aaron Jones, still Devontae Adams, still Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mercedes Lewis. They did bring in Robert Tonyan, and he was a big deal for that offense. But David Bakhtiari and Corey Lindsley still anchoring that offensive line. Billy Turner kicks out to right tackle, but Elgin Jenkins is still there at left guard. It's not like they swapped out a bunch of these players. It's just these players had another year under the Matt LaFleur scheme. So don't be surprised if you see something similar this year. I know it's going to be frustrating. I know your instinct is going to be to start demanding immediate change if things are not good to start 2021 for this offense. But I'm telling you right now, we're probably going to need to be a little patient with these guys. And I know it's not easy to be patient. Some people aren't. I understand that we've won one playoff game in the last 4 years. I understand that our franchise QB is getting older and we're all just waiting for that special season to get here. But if I take a look at the fact that we're changing schemes, we're changing play caller, we're changing everything on this offense, don't be surprised if the first 2 months of the season the offense doesn't play that well. Don't be surprised if you see bad stretches. Don't be surprised if you see bad games. Don't be surprised if the offense cost us a game or two that we should have won. Okay? So, what I'm hoping in 2021 is if and when Wilson misses a throw or throws an interception or makes a bad play, I don't want to see everybody start clamoring for his job, saying, oh, we should have traded him this offseason, da-da-da. No. I want you to understand that this is a process and it's going to take a while, okay? When we're not running the ball well, when the offensive line maybe blows an assignment or two or isn't doing the job great to start the season. I don't want to hear, oh, we should have done this instead of that. We should have brought in Mitchell Schwartz. We should have gotten, Lane Johnson or whatever crazy stuff. Uh, be careful, okay? It might be frustrating. It might be frustrating all the way through to the end of the season. But Rome was not built in a day, and this Seahawks offense is not going to be built in a day either, I don't think, okay? I just showed you a great example. Matt LaFleur brought some great stuff to Green Bay, but it took a year for it to really settle in. That 2019 Packers offense was basically league average. And then they became the best offense in the league the very next year, mostly on the back of the players understanding the system a little bit better and being familiar with the way they did things. So I'm going to go and get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. And look, I can't tell you what kind of fan to be, but I think the sensible thing to do would be to anticipate and be mentally prepared for an offense in 2021 that might not play great to start the season. And instead of demanding we go get this player, go get that player, or saying we should fire Shane Waldron or we should do this or do that, just wait, okay? Good things come to those who wait, I think. In this case, I think we just got to sit back, see what happens. And look, it's possible we don't figure it out in 2021 all the way. It's possible we might have to wait until 2022 for this scheme to really settle in. It's possible. And more than the fans, more than even the fans, I hope the head coach of this team is ready for that. The last thing we need is Pete Carroll looking at a couple bad games in September and going, oh, I got to take over this offense and make them run the ball 60% of the time. No, no. We as fans can complain about stuff and it doesn't really matter that much. But if Carroll gets involved like that, no, that's no. All right. See you guys later. Peace out. Go Hawks. Be patient with this offense. I'll talk about the defense later, but be patient with the offense. I think it'll pay off in the long run.